I cannot wait to share the story of Rochelle Hillier, the Canadian queen of YouTube, and how she's been in real estate for the last 7 years and started out cold calling and door knocking because she really didn't have money in the beginning and also did not want to spend any money on advertising. So she does what most every single real estate agent does when they start out, and that's cold call and door knock. But after 7 years, she was completely burnt out on that. She was looking for a different way, and just one conversation between the two of us, and she thought, you know what, I am going to give this YouTube thing a try. And she started her channel just January 1st of 2022, and within 3 months she had to bring on a buyer's agent because she was getting overwhelmed from leads. And already within a 6-month time frame, she was able to close over 16 transactions and multiple 6 figures in GCI just from her YouTube channel. And now she's getting hundreds of thousands of views on multiple videos, which is way better than we've even done. So I cannot wait to share her story with you. And here's the best part. If you want to partner with Rochelle and myself and get access to all of our YouTube training at absolutely zero cost, I'm going to link Rochelle's information in the description below so you can book a call directly with her and discuss if we're going to be a good fit and if we can help you do this in your business as well. So let's jump into the video. And welcome, Rochelle. So happy to have you joining us today. And so for those that are watching right now, let's just kind of get a little bit into the backstory. You're up in Toronto, Canada, correct? I just want to make sure I've got that correct.
Even North, Toronto represent.
There you go. All right. So yeah, just kind of give us a little bit of the backstory. You know, what was your transition into real estate? What were you doing before you moved into real estate? When did you move into real estate? Let's kind of start there.
I think like a lot of other real estate agents, I had about 30 other jobs before I got into real estate. But my primary ones were, believe it or not, I was a teacher before I got into real estate. I was teaching elementary and high school. I have a background in economics and English. And so those were 2 of the courses that I was teaching in high school. After that, I got into dealing poker for a living.
Really?
And from there, started to play as well. So poker was a big thing in my life, like 10 years ago, where 3 to 4 days of the week I would be dealing, and then 2 to 3 days of the week I would be playing. And so every day of the week was poker. But that lifestyle it wasn't in line with my goals of raising a family, getting married. And so when I met my husband, he sort of convinced me to get into real estate. And because of him, I am where I am now. So yeah, from teaching to poker, that's how I got into real estate, sort of through my husband.
Okay. Shane, which I'm sure we'll be talking to Shane in some of the upcoming videos as well. But so when you made that transition, when was that? When did you move into real estate?
So I've been in the industry since 2015, so 8 years now. And, when I first started, it wasn't easy for me. Like I had all the confidence in the world. I did really well in the licensing program. But as any other agent could tell you, as soon as you get your license and you step foot out there, you're going to quickly realize that you have no idea what the hell you're doing. Because the licensing programs can only teach you so much, and they don't actually properly teach agents how to run their business, which is exactly what this is all about. You're running your own business. And so you've got to incorporate marketing. You've got to incorporate networking if that's your strong suit. But whatever method you take to generate leads, like you've got to be consistent and on it. But nobody ever tells you that you're on your own when it comes to generating those leads. And so in the beginning, I did try different ways of prospecting. I tried cold calling at first, and I was pretty confident with that because I did have a background just at another job before poker and before, like when I was a student, I was cold calling, but for not in the real estate space, but those skills were transferable. And so I had the confidence to cold call. That didn't really work out for me. And so I transitioned into door knocking. And that's actually how I got my first clients, is by knocking on these random people's doors. And they just saw that my work ethic and my hustle would probably serve them well as clients of mine. And so that's how I got my first real estate clients. But through all the cold calling and the door knocking, I realized that shit, this is no fun. I don't like doing this. Very small success, but my energy and my input, it wasn't worth the output. And so I wanted to focus on a different method of prospecting. I did try my hand at Facebook ads, and they worked somewhat. It's just that you had to spend money on that. And as a new real estate agent, just like a lot of other new real estate agents, I didn't have the budget for that. It wasn't within my financial means to continue advertising and spending money on marketing myself. And so that led me to, serendipitously, I ran into you and Travis. Travis is my sponsor at EXP. And at EXP Con last year, when I met you guys, you had told me about your YouTube success with your channel and all the free leads that you had generated from that avenue. And so that was when I decided I'm going to go just balls deep on this. Like, I want what you guys have. And so I implemented that. And I can talk more about that in a little bit, but that was pretty much my transition into, being able to generate leads for my business for free. I didn't spend a dime on prospecting these leads, and they came to me. So I didn't have to deal with any rejection that I did with the cold calling. I didn't have to spend my time outdoors in the snow in the winter, because winters here in Toronto are really brutal. You as a Texan would never know, but let me just tell you, it gets really effing cold. And so all of those other traditional methods of prospecting that didn't work for me, I just threw them out the window and focused solely on YouTube, and it's served me really well to this point.
Wow. I mean, that's amazing. What's funny too is was that just a year ago? Or was it it just seemed
Yeah,
I feel like you've been doing it forever though, almost. I mean, is it really just at 1 year?
I feel like I've been doing it forever too. It's only been just over a year. So I published my first video on January 1st of 2022. So yeah,
Oh,
just over a
really?
year now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and
Okay.
since then, I've grown my channel to over 7,000 subscribers now. We've generated, when I say we, like I got to a point just after probably 3 months on YouTube where there were so many leads coming and I couldn't handle it. And I had to bring on a team member. And so together we have grown the channel to over 7,000 subscribers, 6,000 subscribers in under a year. Now at just over a year and a bit, we're at over 7,000 subscribers, over, I would say, maybe 400 to 500 warm leads who have reached out to us to get us to help them look for a home. So warm leads, and we're earning advertising revenue. So we've been able to monetize a channel really well successfully.
That's awesome. And how many transactions in 2022?
In 2022, so it was a slow start for us, but within from the time we did our first transaction, and then 6 months after that, so within the first 6 months of transacting from YouTube, in 2022, we closed, I want to say 16 deals at least.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Very nice. Well, that's awesome. And so, and those were all inbound, right? Those were people that reached out to you and said, love the channel. Can you help me find a home, please?
They were all inbounds. And that's why I fell in love with YouTube, because I was so used to having to put myself out there and sell myself to these prospects. Whereas now people are calling me and they're like, I don't have to sell myself. They're excited to talk to me and they can't believe that they're on the phone with me when I pick up. And it's like, I'd be happy to help you. You don't, and so yeah, it's been a real adventure. And the quality of these leads it's been really unexpected as well. So my most recent client who I signed on, he's actually, so 2 days ago, I signed on someone who had contacted me from Vancouver, which is all the way on the other side of Canada. And it was the wife who had reached out to me. She was at the airport in Vancouver and she was watching me on her phone. She had typed in Toronto, Ontario on YouTube, and I came up on the first page. So she clicked on me. And right after watching my first video, just one video, that's all it took, she ended up calling me and she said, "Hey, listen, I'm on my way to Toronto right now to look at homes because my husband just accepted a new position there. We want you to be our realtor." I was like, amazing. Like, you're already here. Like, you're ready to go. This is a true quality lead. And not only that, so I ended up getting to know this couple, and they told me that they were actually also interviewing someone else who they had found on YouTube. This someone else, though, I'm not going to say his name because he's my competitor, but he is a commentator on it's called City TV, which is a provincial TV station, and also Global News. So he provides real estate commentary on TV. And but after talking to me, just for just for a little bit of time, after that initial conversation with me, they ended up canceling their interview with that other agent. Oh my God, I think I have kale in my teeth. Sorry, I was just drinking a kale smoothie. And yeah, so as I was getting to know them, no.
You look good. No, it's
But throughout the course of that conversation, as I got to know them, I was like, "Oh, okay, so you're coming to Toronto for a new job. What's your position?" So he ends up telling me that he is. So the company is the head commissioner of transit in Toronto, and he just accepted the role as vice president. So I was like, holy shit, these are the kind of leads that come through YouTube. It's amazing. And his wife is a scientist. So it's incredible, the quality and the quantity of the leads that are coming in through the channel without me having to spend a single dime, like I'm telling you, on marketing to these people. They're all warm leads reaching out to me, wanting to work with me. It's been absolutely amazing.
That's awesome. So yeah, I guess that timeline does make sense. So we met at EXP Con 2021, and then you started the channel January of 2022. And what's funny is that I remember those conversations, but you were quiet as a mouse. It's almost like you just absorbed and then you turned around and then you executed. Just came out of the gate. Next thing I know is like, oh, Rochelle, there she is with. And didn't one of your videos blow up from the beginning?
Did.
Yeah.
The thing is that I'm really analytical because I had exhausted so much of my time and energy and money into these other methods. I wanted to make sure that what you guys were telling me about how much, YouTube, how much success you found in YouTube yourselves, I wanted to make sure that this was a viable path for me as well. And so I did a lot of soul searching, so to speak, which is probably why I was quiet, is because I was really into myself and just really analyzing whether this platform would be a good fit for me. Because I think that any social media platform can work, but not every platform is going to work for you. In terms of what my other options were, YouTube just made sense for my personality and my skill set. But that's not to say that I didn't do my research before publishing and, creating my first videos. I actually looked at the competition in my market to see who else was creating YouTube videos for real estate in Toronto. And I saw that it was that market is so unsaturated. And as I really started to go deep into, okay, who's this guy? And I had honestly, I had one other competitor really who was also making real estate videos to attract clients to his business. And so I just felt this is a really untapped market. If I am going to get myself into it, I it's good that I'm ahead of the game, but I also need to make sure that I'm going into it strategically, because there's no point. Not only did I try door knocking, cold calling, advertising on Facebook before, I had also tried my hand on social media. I did have a channel before that went nowhere, but that's because I didn't have a plan. I didn't know how to optimize my channel. I didn't know what kind of content to put out there. And so that quiet time when you met me, or like shortly after you met me, and right before I actually published my first video, that was me just trying to make sense of this avenue that I was taking and making sure that it was worth my time and investment.
Well, that's awesome. And that was that your first video you put out that's up to, is it almost 300,000 views now?
Right. Okay. Yeah. So that video, I think, yeah, it's over 200,000 views right now. And that was one of the first, like probably one of the first 10 videos that I'd put
Okay.
up on the channel. And the crazy thing is that I've talked to other real estate agents who've noticed me from the channel. So it's not just other clients that
Yeah.
are reaching out to me. It's other agents who want to know how I'm doing, what I'm doing. And when I talk to them, one of their biggest fears is that, you know, they won't be able to produce a quality video, and they're going to need an editor, and they're going to have to spend all this money on the editing. That video that propels my channel, I edited 100% myself. I
Oh, wow.
didn't have an editor do that for me because I didn't have the financial resources, or I didn't want to spend the money at the time on an editor. And so it was so easy for me to learn how to, just a quick Google search, or YouTube search actually teaches you, okay, this is how you use iMovie, this is how you use WeVideo, whatever editing software you want to use. It's so easy to learn how to just simply cut. And I didn't have any special effects. I didn't have any motion graphics or animations. All I did was just did a layover of text here and there, and then cut out the times where I said or I sounded like an idiot. But yeah, like you don't have a background as an editor or as a YouTuber or even as a real estate agent to successfully monetize your channel and have a video or videos that are really gonna put yourself out there and succeed.
Well, I think it's amazing, and congratulations. I always, whenever I talk about you, I'm always like, yeah, her videos get way more views than we do. So we actually just had our first video hit 100,000 views. So you're way ahead of us. Yeah. But it's funny. It's an old evergreen. It's one of the first videos too. It's almost 2 years old now. It's one of the beginning videos, but it just, that's the beautiful thing about YouTube. It just keeps pushing that video out there every single day, and it's getting more. It's actually on another little uptick, which is amazing. That's why I love the platform so much. So yeah, you've got that video. What was that video? That's it's over 200. I think you're around 250,000 views on it. What's that? It's what's it titled?
Don't move to Toronto.
There you go. Again, we always talk about this. It's unfortunate, but the negativity does sell, right? And of course, I'm sure you're talking about the downsides, but at the end, you can say, hey, but if you are thinking about moving here, or you get transferred, or you have to move, go ahead and give me a call, right?
That's exactly what I did. But that's what you taught in the course, which is, because you had the same video, which was don't move to Dallas, Texas. Yep. So I replicated that in my own way, but I took what you taught and implemented it into all of my videos. But I did exactly that, where you have a title that is captivating and engages your audience and gets their attention. And it's like, why, what's wrong with moving to Toronto? I was planning on doing that. So now I'm going to watch this video to find out what's so wrong with it. But at the end, it's exactly that, what you said. It's just like, okay, while there are a lot of cons for some people, there are a lot of pros to living in this city. And if those pros outweigh the cons, then call me, because I'll be the person to help you find your next home. But to that, before you mentioned that YouTube is evergreen, and I just want to touch on that real quick, because that was another deciding factor for me in choosing which social media platform to focus on. Because, there's Instagram, there's TikTok, there's Facebook. And when I said earlier that any social media platform can work, but not everyone will work for you. What really solidified YouTube for me was the fact that on top of other benefits, number one is that it is evergreen. And so that video that I created over a year and a half ago, or maybe like a year ago at this point, it's still coming up on the first page of people's search results. If you were to open up a window incognito, clear your cache so there's no bias, and type into YouTube right now, Toronto, Ontario, that video from a year ago will come up on the first page of your YouTube search results. So it's absolutely fucking incredible. I'm sorry, it's absolutely incredible. Am I allowed to swear? Sorry, just bleep that out.
Yeah.
And, you know, on top of it being evergreen, it's, you know, the fact that if you did want to, which I think you should as a real estate agent, put yourself out there on other social media platforms just to have a presence, you can repurpose your long form YouTube videos into short form content for those other platforms, or even YouTube itself, because it has shorts, but then you can also turn them into Instagram Reels or into TikToks. And so that was another advantage that YouTube had over other platforms, plus the fact that you could monetize YouTube, and you can't necessarily do that with, you know, Instagram, TikTok, because, you know, with YouTube, after you've reached a certain threshold, then your channel can qualify for monetization. And I've been able to do that. And I did that really quickly within, I think, maybe my first 3 months of being on YouTube. And then I think another advantage that YouTube has over other platforms is the fact that, for me personally, and I think if you ask anyone on the streets, YouTube is the ultimate authority builder. So if you were to ask anyone, hey, who has more or perceived authority? Would it be someone with 100,000 YouTube subscribers, or is it someone with 100,000 TikTok followers? And not to discredit anyone who has X amount of followers on TikTok, but I think anyone would say that the YouTuber has more perceived authority. And so for all of those reasons, it just made sense for me to leverage that platform and exert my time and energy into YouTube.
Yeah, that's amazing. I just heard this the other day. I was listening to a podcast, and that's what they were talking about, you know, YouTube and versus short form and everything that's going on. And they just said, look, on those short form platforms, you're literally one thumb swipe away from being oblivious, you know, which is, you know, somebody comes across your content and they can simply just, whoop, you know, swipe right by you. So when you show up in those feeds and things like that, you're just getting in front of somebody that may not have any interest, may not be in the market. That's what we call interruption marketing, of course, because who knows, they just may not be in the market at all. And you're just one thumb swipe away, as to where on YouTube, they're very intentional, you know, so they are actually searching. Like you said, lady sitting in the airport on her way says, oh, what do we all do in the airport? You know, I download YouTube videos to watch on the airport on the airplane, you know? And so, and types in Toronto, Ontario, your video pops up, calls you. I mean, it's literally, that's how it works. And we've seen this time and time again. So I want to rewind real quick to the beginning. You seem like a natural. I mean, you know, I thought all your videos are great. But, you know, you mentioned, if you don't mind me saying, before coming on here, you're like, oh, I'm a little nervous. And I want people to understand that, because you don't seem nervous right now, but that it's okay. You know, it's one of those things where you might feel something, it feels a little unnatural. I still find a struggle sometimes to just have a conversation with the camera, right? Because that's ultimately what we're doing. You're out there by yourself with an iPhone, or maybe sitting in the office, and you're talking to this object, you know? So when you started, how was that transition into getting onto video? Were you a natural? Did it take a few takes? Were you kind of nervous, even if you were by yourself? What was that beginning like?
My beginning was horrible. Like, I look back at the first couple of videos, and I actually don't like to look at my first videos, because I cringe. I'm like, oh my God, like, why am I talking like that? It's crazy though, because it's so important to be authentic, because and I still am now, but even in the beginning, those videos are what allowed people to relate to me, and they could see through my nervousness. But at the same time, so those earlier videos have gotten me so much business, even more so than my 200,000 plus viewed Don't Move to Toronto, Ontario videos. So my earlier videos, It's just, you know, when I talk to other agents about, you know, they feel intimidated by, yeah, getting in front of the camera, because these are real estate agents we're talking about. They're not YouTubers. They're just trying to grow their business the best way they know how. But who's comfortable for the first time making a YouTube video, making a video in general, and then knowing that it's going to be published on YouTube for the world to see? But along the way, I learned different tricks to help you build your confidence and speak more confidently in front of the camera. One of them actually was something that Travis had taught me, which was, so essentially, I'm going to show you because he was standing up when he showed me, and I think it's important to actually show people what that looks like. So you're in front of the camera, and if you have a script, like if you're working on a script, like I think a lot of people do, you can just memorize like a few sentences at a time. Hit record on your phone, say those 2 sentences standing right here, and then get out of the frame, memorize the next few lines, come back, and then just finish off your paragraph or your bullet points or whatever. Because the beautiful thing about videos is that you can edit them. And with the magic of it, it's just going to make your speech and your dialogue just flow so naturally. But at the same time, it's not that much of a worry because people understand that you aren't a robot. You're human. You say, you can talk and fumble on your words, and, you know, it's not a big deal. So I think for a lot of agents who are trying to get into YouTube, but they're nervous about how they're going to look or sound, it's just important to just maybe practice in front of your phone a couple tries. But number one, just get yourself out there. So my friend, Brad Vanderwall, who I know you're also going to interview for this, he actually put a post up on Instagram this morning, that really resonated with me, which was 6 months, and I'm not quoting it verbatim, but it's something along the lines of 6 months from now, you're either going to be full of excuses or full of progress. And so how that translates to what I'm talking about now is the fact that you just got to put yourself out there, just start it, and then see what's going to happen. You're going to do well.
Yeah. Yeah, and I have a saying similar to that, which is in 6 months or a year, you're going to say one of 2 things: I'm glad I did, or I wish I had. That's
Yeah.
that's the only 2 things you can say: I'm glad I did, or I wish I had. And it's funny because I've spoken now at some reoccurring conferences, and it's unfortunate. I feel bad, but it's like you see the people that were there the year before, and they come up to you the next year, and they're like, okay, this time I'm really going to get started. And it's just like, man, if you would have just started last year, imagine where you'd be right now. Now, of course, it's never too late. Just like you said, I think it all comes down to personality too. So just like you mentioned, I mean, even if there's 2, 3, 4, 5 agents in your market, that is still not saturated, because what's the alternative to cold call every expired and FSBO that every other 1,000 agents are calling as well? Put yourself in a magazine with the other 1,000 agents that are in magazines. I mean, what's the alternative? And people look at YouTube and they're like, well, there's one person on YouTube, therefore it's saturated. And it's like, no, not really, because you can't capture the whole market. You'll never capture the whole market of Toronto on YouTube. And so, but I do believe getting there sooner rather than later is definitely to your advantage. So good. Let's talk about real quick. So a couple of practical and tactical things, because you posted in our Facebook group once, which I was like, "Ooh, that's a really good idea." So I'm learning. It's like, the tables have turned now. Now I'm learning, because I want to know. I'm like, dang, I was like, how did Rochelle get hundreds of thousands of views? This is amazing. But oh yeah, and that's the other funny part. Our video that's 100,000 views now is the one of our worst audio. We had an audio problem, and so my mic went out. And we had to use the mic audio from Travis's mic. And of course, when you're away like that, it was terrible. I can't stand it. Like, even listening to it makes me cringe, but it just keeps getting more and more views. And I'm like, no, that's not the video I want. But it's okay. I'm like, hey, whatever works. But again, like you said, I think people understand, hey, stuff happens. People are not as analytical or hard on ourselves as we are, right? So, that's why I always tell people in video too, don't tell people about your crazy left eyebrow. Otherwise, they're going to notice that, So,
Crazy left eyebrow. Yeah, that's the
yeah,
first thing that they're gonna look at.
yeah. Because nobody will ever notice it until you point it out. So don't point it out. Okay, so you mentioned a couple of things like in our group, and which I thought were really great. You talked about, kind of how you make your thumbnails and a couple of other quick tricks and tips. Do you mind sharing those?
Yeah, sure. So I actually remember seeing somewhere in the group about how they did a study on Netflix that said that it takes the average viewer an average of 1.8 seconds of viewing thumbnails to decide which movie that they were going to watch. And so you can translate that over to YouTube in knowing that your thumbnail is probably the most important thing that's going to get people clicking on your videos.
Mm-hmm.
And so I did a little more research, and I'm going to get into what I shared with the group. But before that, I also want to, in my research about, what makes a good thumbnail, what makes a clickable thumbnail, I noticed, and I'm going to put it out there, I'm going to say that I'm the first one to notice this. Levi, let me tell you. So I am a fan of Ryan Serhant as well, who I know that you have worked closely with, and I think that's incredible. And I really admire him myself. And as I was sort of researching his channel, I noticed that his thumbnails, this is me discovering this all on my own, his thumbnails, one of the colors that he uses is like this yellowy orangish tone.
Mm-hmm.
And I noticed that it looked very similar to the yellowy orange color of one of the letters in the Google logo. I think it's like the first or second O has that same yellowy orange color. And so I looked up like the hex code, I think it's called, like, how every color has
Yep.
on the internet has its like hashtag or pound character, a whole bunch of characters. It has its own unique code. It was the exact same code, the exact same color of all the million colors along the spectrum of colors along the rainbow. They had the exact same color. So that's not a coincidence. That's excellent marketing. And so what you want to do is have trending colors on your thumbnails that stand out. Right now, the trending colors are white and that yellowy orange. So that's number one. You want to make sure that you're taking notes down, eh? You also want to make sure that you're using big, bold fonts. You really want to capture the audience's attention by having some sort of hook that is proudly displayed in mega bold letters on your thumbnail, but keep it concise. You don't want to have a whole paragraph about this is what this video is about, da 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 da. People aren't going to read that. If you have one, so for example, one of my videos, I have the word ghetto, like, is this city ghetto? And people are like, what is this city that I'm talking about in this video ghetto? So point is, number one, have your thumbnail have some sort of hook with words that are in trending colors and are big and bold in font. And the secret that I actually shared with your group is you also want to, if you can, because I found that my thumbnails, my higher performing videos had thumbnails where it's just a snapshot of my actual video, as opposed to, I know what, another option is to just have maybe a stock photo of the city that you're covering, for example, and then just lay over a picture of you on top so that it looks like, you are in that city. But I think if you're more authentic about it, and, the stats from my videos have shown that it works for me to actually, instead of going down that route, is to have, so if you play your video in VLC media player, for example, you can freeze frames from the video and use that snapshot as your thumbnail. So what I'll do is I'll either do exactly that, or I'll take 5 minutes while I'm out there shooting a video and just do different poses that are going to definitely be the thumbnail for that video. And the poses that I'll do, so this is another tip, is to show like some sort of extreme emotion with your face. I think actually, let me say that the third tip is to actually have your face in the thumbnail. If you don't, people want to see who's behind the video. They don't want to just learn about, the demographics and the stats behind the city that they're researching. They want to see an actual physical live person who knows the city and is from there and can speak to it. They want to see your face on the thumbnail. And so that's the third point, is to make sure that you're in your thumbnails. But the fourth is that when you are creating your thumbnail with your face in it, you want to have some sort of extreme expression on your face, maybe one of shock or surprise, or just something that's really going to entice viewers to see, hey, why are you so sad, or why are you so mad? So I'll sit in front of the camera for like just a couple of minutes, and I'll pose. I'll just be like, or just to have those expressions in my thumbnail. It's 2 minutes out of your day, and it'll make for a really clickable video.
Great. Now we have our thumbnail for this video.
Oh, and I was like,
yeah. So
no.
we'll definitely freeze that and pull something good from there.
Oh no.
Well,
Sure
that's
thing,
awesome. Yeah, I mean, that's amazing. So I'm just, it's really awesome to see that, because I'm kind of I think we're peas in a pod, because I was the same way. I just, I was very quiet, put my head down. I had to make I was getting into real estate. So I wanted to research, and I figured before I get into real estate, I needed a plan. I needed to understand, is there a way for me to attract business? And so I just put my head in the ground and started researching and learning. And that's why it's so awesome. Like I said, it's funny what people will do with the information, and clearly you took that and executed, and it's been fun. I mean, I love the videos. Now I'm like, oh, I got to go back and really study your thumbnails too. So and that's the thing is I'm definitely going to be considering some color changes here, or implementing some new colors now. So I know that Ryan's email list and forward for a book too, but he I mean, yellow is in his emails. I mean, that's a big part of his brand, except for he went with a shade of purple for Serhant, or it's like a purple blue, I would say. But for a Sell It Like Serhant program, that's all yellow. So, and I know you can look up color coding and the definitions in marketing for different colors, what they mean. So if you want to pick something, and you'll notice like a lot of our stuff with passive prospecting is blue and red, but we looked at, we wanted to model some certain colors that we saw, and so we went and grabbed those hex codes. Grabbed those hex codes of what they were, and so that's where the color background for passive prospecting came through, for the blue and the red. So that's very, very interesting. But I will maybe have to incorporate some yellow in there now, at least on our
yellow.
on our real estate videos. Yeah. So that's awesome. So let me see. So what, anything to close out with, anything I didn't ask that you would like to just kind of really emphasize for people, especially starting out their journey on YouTube, what they should look out for, maybe something they shouldn't do, or something that has really helped out your journey?
There's so much, Levi. Where do I start? If you're going about it correctly, there is going to be a point in your journey where you may not have the capacity to handle all the leads that are coming through your channel. And so preparing yourself for that time, I think, is crucial. And to do that, you want to batch your content ahead of time. So have maybe 5 or 6 videos before you publish your first one. Have them ready so that when things do get busy, you always have because you want to stick to a schedule, essentially. Like, the YouTube algorithm likes consistency. And I know that you guys promote, like 2, 3 videos a week. For me, I couldn't do that. Like, I could only produce 1 video a week, which just, goes to show that you don't need to put out a lot of videos to see success. But at the same time, I also prepared myself beforehand by having these other videos in the pipeline, just in case I needed to go back to them as backup and I couldn't keep up with my schedule. So that's number one. Number two is to prepare yourself mentally. And I think what has allowed me to gain the traction that I've gotten and the quality of the leads that I've gotten and the drive to continue with this, because it didn't come without its challenges, I think, is to have a very strong mindset going into it and just alleviate yourself from those insecurities of not being able to talk on camera by practicing ahead of time, and maybe just doing, honestly, some real soul searching to see if YouTube would be the best fit for you in terms of your personality and your skill set. I'm not saying that you have to have this exuberant, extravagant, like top of the line personality, but the ability to captivate an audience is something that can be learned. And if you are going about this the right way, then I think honing in on your skills and leveraging them to produce, a good video, I think that's sort of the mindset that you need to have prior to embarking on this journey.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us today, Rochelle. That was all awesome information. And as I mentioned in the beginning, you can find all of Rochelle's information in the description below. And the great thing is if you partner with Rochelle, you also partner with us, right? So you get 2 for 1. And actually, we have so many other partners in our group that you get to take advantage of. So I would highly recommend, reach out if you want some more information. And definitely check out the next video. It's going to be just as valuable, and we'll see you next time.